Yeah. Hello everyone. So you're welcome to my YouTube tutorial. My name is Taiwo. Today we'll be talking about the Next.js. In the previous tutorial series, we talked about we built a mini Amazon clone website using React. But today we are going to be doing something with Next.js. So why Next.js? So Next.js is the modern way of doing things, or building a React project. Next.js is a framework, and if you to have access to Next.js, you need to go to react.dev/learn and start a new React project. So Next.js comes with server-side rendering and client-side rendering. So in today's world, you have to use a mixture of both. Server-side rendering allows for SEO search optimization, unlike side rendering. And client side rendering, even though it's faster, but the initial load time, because it has to get all the dependencies, is quite slow. And as the application grows bigger and bigger, the client side rendering, your bundle becomes grows to become very big, because all the dependencies is going to bundle it up on the client side, unlike the server side. So either ways, both of these have their pros and their cons. But today we are going to be talking about, we will focus on Next.js. So how do we create a Next.js app? So previously, when we were creating a React project, we use npm create React app, but in this one we can use create Next app. So I'm going to go into ls cd dot cd. Sorry, I need to come into that directory. Documents, cd, documents, yeah, cd workspace, cd react apps. Okay, so I'm going to run let me clear the console. Sorry, clear. And I'm going to add this. So this is the recommended way to create a next React project. So when you do this, it will ask what is your project name. So I really don't know what we want to create, but we would create like a very mini app. So using Next, you can call this Next app, right? And yeah, do we want TypeScript? So you can do either no or yes, but we want TypeScript. Do you want ESLint? Yes. Do you want Tailwind CSS? Yes. Do you want a source directory? Yes. Do you want a app router? Yes. Do you want to use an alias? No. And this will create a next app project for us. Yeah, so we have a next app project right now. So we have the source directory. So before we go into the source, so we have a next config. So if you need to add something to this configuration for next, this is where you make your change. You have a TypeScript config.json for your TypeScript. So this will compile our TypeScript into JavaScript. And yeah, so it has a target, allow JS, so we can either use a JSX file or a TypeScript file. So we have a plugin, so the plugin is next. And yeah, so we also have a tailwind config CSS for configuration on tailwind CSS. We'll dive into that soon. And we have a source directory. We have a public directory. So this is vessel.svg. So just an svg. So there's really nothing here. And if you go to the layout, so this is the entry point of our application. We have the title. You have the description, and you also have the body. So in the body, we have don't forget, when we add our Amazon app, if let me show you something on the normal React project. So if you go to the source, is it the source? Oh, sorry, I don't have it anymore. Is it this? No, I don't have it anymore. No, this is a. So let's go back to the next app. So as we're saying, so we have the layout TSX, so which takes in which is the body, the inter, the class name. Sorry, so the class inter is coming from the Google font. So Next.js gives you fonts, it imports fonts, and we also have the global CSS. So where does the global CSS? So this is the global CSS. So it has a default styling here. We're going to come in here in a bit. So the layouts page. So this is the entry point, and we also have the page. So this is the page that has been created for us. So let's run the application. So to run it, you can go to our package as JSON, and it tells us that to run this, you need to do the npm run dev, which we are going to do. Oh, sorry. Terminal. We're going to go to npm run dev. So we need to go into the next app and run the command again. So it's starting at localhost 3000. So it's still compiling, so we just have to wait until it compiles. So it has finished compiling, so it comes with the vessel and everything. You see, get started by editing the source app page. So the source, the app, and the page.tss. So it's what we need to edit to get started with this. Alright, so I'm going to cut out everything here. Sorry. And maybe paste it here. Alright, so we'll come back into the page.css, tsx, and we have a blank page. So we can create a function component. A function, we can call this app, which is going to have our render. So in the render, I'm going to return. Sorry, which is going to return. Sorry, return. Why did I do that? So it's going to return a GXX element, yeah, and you can call this hello world. So we need to export this, export default function app, and let's see. So we have the hello world in here. So if you notice there's a styling here, so this is coming from the global.css. So everything you want to do globally, you need to put it in here. Alright, so we are not going to deal with this. So I'm just going to, so this is the body, so it has the gradient. I'm going to comment this out for now, and when I refresh, we should have a white background. Okay, yeah, so it shows that everything is working out of the box. Now we need to I just want to create like a very small app, and so that we can see. So I'm going to work on a JSON, a dummy JSON. So we're going to work on these users. So you go to JSON close to that or typical. So you have your post. So the post has a user ID, title, body, and we have the comments, so which has this per post. So we'll be working with this. Alright, so when you have a post ID, when you have, so you have a post, right? The post, let me do /1, yeah, so /2, so /3. So okay, so for now we're going to just use the post and the body. We're going to be calling these endpoints. So one way I want us to do this is I want us to create a context. All right. So and let's learn using context. So we have the source and we have the app directory. I'm going to create a new folder in the source directory called the context. Inside the context, and I'm going to do this new file. Um, we call this the user or the post context or app context. Let's just use app context dot tsx. So this is a TypeScript folder. All right. So in the TypeScript, we are going to create a context using React, and let's quickly do a search on what's how to create a context in React. So the context is designed to share data. So because we want to share data on the global level, so in the globally we want to bring out we want to we want we want the data um, to be accessible in all our components. All right. So to create a context is just simply by you do this by creating a team context. So we're going to import React from React. All right, and create context. So in that our context, we have the constants, we have the app context to be equals to create context. So it has the default value which is on no. Alright, so we don't know the default value for our context, so we just do context. So that at the end of the day we can have something like our app context. Alright. So in our app context, so we can have something like the provider. In our provider we need a value which we don't have a value yet, and this is going to be our app context. Alright, so we can do this as use constant app, put this in an arrow function, so that will return the context there. Alright, and close it in here. So this app will take in the children. Alright, and it will take in the children, and in the children we'll just I think it's able to do this. Sorry, there's a way to do this, there's a way to do this, there's a way to do this. So we have our children. So yeah, so we have our children here. So these children are just going to come in here and we'll put in the children. Alright, so I'm going to go into the page.tsx. I'm going to export the so this will not be, this will be, let's say this is the app provider. Alright, so we're going to export this so that we can see it here. So instead of using return this we're just going to return the app provider. Alright, But don't forget that when we leave here, everything's not going to work. I'm going to explain that in a bit. So we have our children come in here. That's the roots layout function, which takes in the children. But the children returns this. So we need to put it in here and not inside the app folder. So let me explain what I'm trying to do now. So for instance, so we have the app. We are returning the app provider, right? And inside the app provider, let's just say hello world, right? And if you come here, we have issues here. We have some issues here. Syntax error, unexpected app context, and for so dot provider. So this should work. So it's saying you are importing a component that needs a create context. It only works in a client component, but none of its parents are marked with use client. So we need to, so this only works in a client component. So we need to use client. Alright. And inside the page, because we are calling this, we need to pass in the so this should work. So this works. But it says binary children of any. So these our pearls children. We don't know the what's it called? We don't know what the children is yet, right? So when we do console.log children, let's do a console inspect elements here. So we can do children. So it's a string. So I was able to create an interface here, my prop. So my prop is, it has a children interface. So because I was getting this error here, alright, so I just cannot work with this. So use of the structuring it here, I'm using the props, which is my prop. Alright, and this still works because it's an object. So we are working with TypeScript. So now we have our context in here. Now the next thing I need to do is, so if you look at the context, an argument for default value was not provided. So you need to provide the default value here. Alright, so now we have our context. So we need we need a reducer. Alright, we need a reducer. So constant use reducer to be equals to the function. So the reducer is going to accept. We need an initial state in this. So this is our app context. So we need an initial state here. So constant, you can define it on top here on this before this interface. Constant initial state. It's an object. So I don't know what the initial state is going to be. So this will take in our states. our states, we need an interface for the initial state. Interface for initial app state. We can call this the app state, which is this. No worries, no make sense in bits. And in the app state, we don't know what. So this is just going to be our app states, alright? We don't know what is going to be there. So now in our state, and we need an action here. So an action for now we just say any. Alright, so we do a switch here, switch the action. So if the action is, let's say, so for instance, we have the where's our dummy data? So we have our posts. We want to store this post in here. So we can say post for now. Let's just say post for now. Alright, so when save, you can do this save underscore posts. Alright, so that could be our user. So instead of using a string there, I like using a what's it called now, a type. You can use a type. So type of save underscore post to be equals to save underscore post. So a constant here, constant save post. So if the type, if the case is save post, what do? We want to update the state. Alright, so I want to return the state. So we'll use update the state. Alright, and so we return the state and would so we would update the post. So we can say state dot post. Alright, so you can see post. Alright. So this will be, we are saving the entire post. It's going to make sense in bits. So I'm going to save all posts. So the state dot post. Alright, and by default break default we just return the state break. So why are we having issues here? So let's see. So sorry, we are meant to have a little curly brackets here. State doesn't have post, so we need to add a post here. So the interface is going to have a post, which is going to be an array. Alright, this is going to be an array of what's it called, posts. So we need another interface for posts. So our post is going to have a user ID, title and body. User ID to be a number, ID to be a number, title to be a string, and body to be a string. So you can see the error is gone. Alright, so because we are using a return here, so it's not getting here, so we don't need to put the return here. So the use reducer is going to return our state. Alright, so we can then do our fetching here to fetch our data constant. We can see fetch. What are we fetching? This, the URL, and because we have a fetch here, we need to await this fetch. Await fetch and do your constant post to be, or post response. Post response or post response to be this. So let's see what is inside our response. Console.log responses response, and because we are using an await here to fetch this returns a promise, we have to use an async key here. So let's come back in here. So you can see that our response has a if response okay. Alright, that's an okay object in the response, but for the body it's a string, so we need to await the body. We need to await it to get the actual response from here. So it's saying await async is not supported. So there's a way we will do this, but just code with me. Let's see, constant post equals to await response.json. So if you do post, you do this. So we have our post in here, which is this. Now what if response is not okay? So we need to put this in a try catch, because this is going to break our app. So we will say try this. So inside the response you can see if there's no response that's okay, we need to throw new error, unable to load or to fetch all posts. So we need to catch the error here. Catch error. For now, we'll just console.log error equals to error. Alright, so once we have that, we have the post in there. Now, I always like using a service file for this kind of stuff. So we have the post in here, so everything still works, and we need to we need to call our reducer, this reducer, and use it. So instead of using use reducer, you can say app reducer. So we have a React function that calls our reducer. Alright, so we import the use reducer from the React component, and we it comes with the states. When you call the use reducer, it comes in with the states, which is the state and the dispatch for dispatching the action. And for the reducer, you need to pass in your app reducer in here. Alright. So it expects two arguments. So the reducer will have the action reducer and the initial state. That's the initializer. So we will pass in the initial state in here. So as you can see, we are having use reducer, which is giving us an error because of the initial state. So this initial state is as an any property, and because we have an app reducer that takes in a state with an app state, so we have this issue saying that post is missing in type of empty object. So to fix this, so this is the empty object, this is the type. To fix it, we need to take this interface up notch. All right, so we need to take this interface here, and we need to pass in the app state here, app state here, so that initial states with app states. Yeah, so the initial state, it's a type of app state. So you can see it's complaining of an error which is post, and that's the thing about TypeScript. It makes you do things in a good way. So our post is going to be an empty array. Alright, so you can see the issue has gone. But don't forget, I would like to put this post before the interface is before the app state interface. I'm just going to copy it and I'm going to put it in here. So now we have the initial state. Let's just take this one up to the topmost parts of the equation. Yeah, so we have the app state and there are no errors in here. So the use reducer, sorry, just a second. The use reducer, it's use reducer, the error is gone. So we have now this has the state and it has the dispatch. All right, so now that we have our post here, we need to dispatch the action. All right, so when you dispatch, you use the dispatch to dispatch action, which takes in an object of a type. So because we are saving the posts, we call in the type is save post, and the payload, so we can use payload here. Alright, so the payload we are going to call putting the post in here. Alright, and that works here. So but don't forget, we said that in our use reducer we said the action. So now we are not going to do the switch on the action, but we are going to do the switch on the action dot type. So that because we are using a type here, so if the action dot type is save underscore post, alright, we update it, and when you are updating the action, the post, you're going to use the action dot payload dot post. Alright, so now I don't think I'm comfortable putting any here, so let's leverage on TypeScript for this. So where you see the we can call this interface action action payload or action to be this, and in that action we have the payload, alright, to be an any object. Alright, so we have payload to be an any, so action can learn from action, and because we have a post array, alright, so you can say so it has a post image, so you can say you can define another state called payload here. a interface might be low. Alright, so in the interface, so it's got a post which is an array of so but we have the app here, so we can just do an app state here. I don't want to do that, so let's just do an array of what, of the posts array. Okay, so that fits it. So post array, yeah, so that works. So now we have the action, which is an action parameter. So the action also has a type in here, so we need to put the type. The type is a constant of string, right? So we just want to put a string constant here, and yeah, that error goes away. So let's see if our app is still working, even though nothing is happening. So our app seems to, sorry, not very soon, not close. So now a network change was detected. Refresh to generate a link or a menu. Refresh. So sorry, not this. Stop share. So it says that await is not yet supported in client component, and this is often caused by accidentally adding use clients to a module. So let's fix this error. So because we are using a use client here, it's telling us that async await, we can't use an async await in this particular Next.js file. Alright, because it's not yet supported. This should not be a client component. So how do we do this? So apparently we are getting this error. So one way we need to do is, because this is a client component, we cannot use async await. You can only use async await in a server component. So I'm going to move this function. Alright, so I'm going to leave the data in here, and I'm going to move this function from the client component, the function where we call the data. We are moving it from the client component, and we are going to put it in the server component, which is this. Alright, so I'm going to add the function here. So I just don't want to have this in my, I don't want to mess up my app component. I'll create a get data function here and call this constant get post. Ideally, we can even have a create a new folder in the source slash app, okay, source directory, and call this services. So this will give us all our services here, and in the services I'm just going to say new file and say post.tsx. Alright, post.service.tsx. I'm going to put the function in here, and I mean the command in here, and say export post service to be equals to this, which is an arrow function. So you can see that I'm just trying to organize the way this I'm just trying to organize the code to ensure that everything works well. Alright, so we're going to export constant fetch, call this fetch post. Alright, so we will export this, or we can just say export default post service. So we can say constant post service to be equals to this, and we can then write have our fetch post here. So instead of exporting it for post service, we just export the default is, and we don't need to export this anymore. Alright, does it make sense? Yeah, it makes sense. Perfect sense. So, and then we can put our async in here. Alright, so we have our async, fetches the data. You can also try to do some stuff in here and call this maybe post underscore URL, which can even come in from your environment, but for now we just say constant post underscore URL to be equals to this. Sorry, this here. Okay, so we have the post URL, this, and when there's an error, we'll probably maybe do this later. So we have our post, we need to return the post. So instead of doing a constant again, sorry, we'll just return the post. Return our with post. So if there's an error, we need to catch it in here and just, yeah, we need to catch it in here. So yeah, so for now let's leave it like this. Then let's go back to here and we get our post service dot fetch post. Alright, so it takes no argument. So constant post. So don't forget we need to await this again, because constant function async comes before async app. So don't forget that we need to, so this returns a promise, right? Because of the async, exactly. So we'll go back into the page. We'll go back into the page. So we have our post, we have the children. So we can then do the post, or yeah, and do the data equals to posts, right? And we'll come back into the post service, it's app context, and because we have the post coming in here, sorry, yeah, because we have it coming in here, so we have the props. So we need to put in the data also. The data is also going to come in. So and in that data we have the data is equivalent to post. So we're going to payload the data. So if you go back to the page dot type children data is not assigned to type matrix input this. I think this should work. Oh, okay, props. Oh, okay. So since we're having our props in here, so this should be props dot data. Alright, but since it's not assignable, so we need to add it in our props in here and call this data. And what will be our data? Our data should be an array, right? Our data should be an array. So it should be an array of what? Of posts, all things being equal. But don't forget that the data can be an array, alright, and if, because we're returning an array of posts, but sometimes yeah, so it can be an array, and if there's no post, we just need to return an empty object. Alright, so that we don't have an error here. I don't know if this makes sense. It makes sense. So, but we need to put a return type in here. So, because we are using TypeScript, so how can we do that? So we can define a model here, new file called, sorry, new folder. create a new folder, call this a model. Alright, so in that model, you can call it interface. You can create a new file called posts post.tsx. So we have our model post.tsx. Does this make sense? I think it does. So we can rename the folder. Where's the rename property? Instead of calling this model, we call it models. So now post.tsx, what we can do is we can go back to the app context, and instead of, so we need this post in here, so we need to copy this post because that's going to be an array of posts, and put it in here. So we need to export the interface, export interface post. So we can then say that this would be a post. We should come from the model. Can you see from the model at model/post? So it will be a model post array, right? Post is not a valid async function return type in yes, because it does not refer to the promise compatible constructor. So we're having an error here. Type posts. Okay. Let's do this array of posts. I'm still having issues. I think it's yeah, right? Sorry, it's not here. So we're having, what's it saying here? So it's saying that array constructor is not a valid async. Oh, sorry. So now this is returning a promise. Alright, so we cannot say return this, so it has to return a promise of an array, and in that array we have a post array. Do you understand? So it returns a promise of array post. So because this is an async, it's returning a promise. So in that promise you have the array, and in that array you have the post. So this should work out of the box. And if we go to app.context, so because we have taken the post out, the post will not be defined here, so we need to define it back by importing the model post model. So you can see how this is making sense. Alright, so the payload, we can also move this payload, but we can just leave it here for now because the payload is just particular, just particular to this place. So now we have the app coming in and we are dispatching it properly. Alright, so if you do console.log cccc and you have the data, so you have the props, the data, you should see, so this should fix our errors. Constant declaration must be initialized. So we're having an error here, which is on the post service constant G. Why are we using G? OG. So is this async function app? Let's go to the pay function app. Oh, so this is what we are doing here. So it's a React limits number of renders. So the reason why we are having that renders is because we need to put this in a use effect. Alright, so we need to import another variable called use effect. So we are fetching the data, right, from the client side, but every time this loads, the data keeps coming back. So we have our post service, right, and we're saying await fetch post. Sorry, go back to page this. So each time this works, it loads the data, it keeps fetching that data. So we need to use an use effect here, but I'm not sure use effect is going to work in here because let's just see. So it takes in a callback and we put in the effects. Alright, I'll put in an empty dependency for now. So this is not going to work. You get, so I'm just going to do this. Not going to work. So we are going to, so because this is a client component, right? This is a client component. Sorry. Okay, we are done with the post service for now. So we'll go to the app context. So this is a client component. So we need to use the use effects here. So because we are dispatching the data, so every time data changes, you understand we have the issue. So let's see, oops are not supported inside an async component. So we have an issue here. We have too many renders, and I want us to move this app provider because this app provider is only accessible. Only going to be accessible to the home page. All right. So we can't use effects here. So how can we fix this too many renders? So one way to fix this render is to use a use effect in here because this is a client component. We're going to use the use effects here. Use effects to be takes in a callback, and in that callback we're going to dispatch our data in here, and we're going to add a dependency. So now if we don't add a dependency, log, let's see how many times this will load. Alright, so for now let's just do this and see what the difference will look like. So we have too many. Maximum update depth is there because we are not adding any dependency. So you can see it's loading multiple times. So if we put in this and we refresh, it's going to load twice. Alright, but if we want to just load once, initial state, and we refresh, yeah, this works. Dot post. Yeah, so this is, we want to achieve this. So just loading twice, and once it gets loaded, it dispatches it into the server component. So we have our dispatch working in here with the save post. Then we need to make this accessible. So to make it accessible, we need to pass in the value, which will be an object which is an object of state. If you notice, the value is saying that state post is not assignable to type string. So, but because we have a string here, we are having issues in our context. While we're creating our context, we says this should be a string. So this should be an object and not a string. So as a string, we have the state, and we can also add the dispatch in here. So which means that the dispatch is going to be available in our context, and also the state is also going to be available in our context. So this should work out of the box now. So now let's create but yeah, we don't have a way to. So for instance, now if we click on post, all right, we need to be able to navigate to where our post is. So let's create a component. So we have an app here. So let's create so the app is like pages, alright. So let's create a new file here called the post.tsx. Alright, so this would be export default function post. Alright, so we are going to export default function post, which is going to return, alright, the list of posts. So now in our function post, we'll get we need to, okay, so in our function post, we want to render it. So right now we can just do this, and we need to get in our post in here. Alright, so to get that, we need to use the use context from React. In that use context, we need to pass in the app context that we created. So you can see the app context is not available in here. No, we created an app context here, sorry. Oh, we are not exporting the context. So we need to export this context we created there. Export constant, the context itself. So let's do this now and say app context. So it's coming in because we're exporting the context. So let's say constant context is equals to this. Let's see what is in our context. Console.log a context. Alright, and when we do this, you will notice we cannot see anything because we are not reacting yet. So if you go to our post, you will see that the page is not found, because the way this works is you need to create a folder called post, right? And when you create a folder called post, we need to rename, have a page.tsx here. Alright, and we call this we can call this page, or we can call it post page. And let's see whether this works. So yeah, it's working now because we have in our context, but it's saying cannot access the context consumer on the server. You cannot. So we need to, so let's say this is our use client now. Let's just say we need to extract it into a component, but before we extract it, let's just do use client and see. We just want to see what's in our context. So you can see that the context doesn't have any data in here. That's what I'm trying to bring out. So it's just an object. So we don't have access to the data itself in here. So what we need to do is we'll go back to the page, which is the main page here. And in this main page, alright, we need to remove what we did in here. Alright, I'm just going to copy this, and so this will just return my app. All right, so return this and this, my app or my home page. All right, so now we have left that, so we need to go to the layout. So the layout is what you find in the app here, and inside this body we need to put in what we have here, which is this, and we're going to remove the children. We're going to export the app provider again, app provider. So that should remove the error, and inside there we need to put in the children, which is being passed into there. And if you look at this, so we need to put in our post in here. So how can we put in our post here? So just before this return, we need to call the post service dot fetch post this, and this needs to be our weight there. With our weighted, we should give us our post, and because this is an async function, by default async, we put an async in here, and we have the async outcome in here. We're saying the GXS type children express type string which requires multiple children, but only a single child was provided. A single child. Oh, okay, so I think I understand this. So it expects multiple children, but only a single child was provided. So I think all we need to do here is we need to enclose this in a fragment. Tags children prop express a type string which requires multiple children, but only a single child was provided. Okay, I think it's coming from here. Just a second. So let's just say children. And in that children, let's go back to the page. Page.tsx. Page.tsx. Okay, so this for the post. Going to app context, and let's just do any for now. Let's see if the error is coming from the layer page. So when we do any, everything works well. So there's something we need to do here. So let's go back and go to my prop. So my prop as children. So it's saying children is a string. So children is not a string. So this is where the error is coming from. Children is not a string. So here it's saying the JSS type children express a type of string which requires multiple children, but only a single child was provided. So this is not a string. So let's do any, and if we console.log what the type of our children, let's see, because we are using TypeScript. Sorry, type of props dot children. So let's see. So it's an object. Type of children is an object. So let us see. Yeah, so since it's an object, so we can. Okay, so it's a React node. It's not assignable to a type of React node. So it's a React node. So React node. So I think that works now. Yeah, works. So we can remove this. So you can see now that the data is not accessible in our you can see the post in here. Alright, so it's accessible here now. We can see the post there. So which has the props dot state dot dispatch. So we are dispatching the props dot data, but we are not getting the data yet anymore in our use context. So how do we now get the data here? So this is dispatching to the payload, payload dot data. We are having an error here. So let's see console.log action dot payload. So there's nothing like posts. So action.payload is just what we need to do here. So that's why it's not accessible. So we should have our payload in here now. So if you can see this, so you can see we have the post in here. So and the post is coming from here. So our context there. So but we can structure this because we have a state and a dispatch. So we can structure the state and the dispatch in there. Alright, so I don't think I'm using the dispatch for now, so I'm just going to say state. So in our state, we can then say state.post. So we can do a state.post, alright, and map. So what are we mapping? We are mapping each of the posts. In each of the posts, we need to do like a div. Yes, that's what I was trying to do. So each of the posts we have a div here. So in our div we have the span. In that span, so we can see the height. So the post is so the post has to implement the post object. Why is the post object not coming in here? sorry, let me go to this post, which is the post, yes, the post model. So if you look at the post model, let's go to the interface again. It's got the ID, the title, and the body. Alright, so we have the ID, so you can see the ID to be post.id, title to be post.title, and the body, which is the post.body. So state does not exist on the type of the object, whereas it exists. So we have the state, so we are still seeing the type as an object. So that's why we are having this TypeScript error. So we need to go to the app context, and where we are putting this object, because we are passing in the state and dispatch, we need to create an interface for this type of object. So we say interface. So the interface, we call it the context interface, which has the state, and our state is going to be the app state, and the dispatch, we have the payload, right? So the dispatch will be the action here, because it has the, sorry, dispatch is not the action. Dispatch is the function. It's a function that has the, so this is just a function, alright. So this should fix the issue we are having there. So yeah, so this context, when we are creating a context now, this would be export context, as context. So this works. So the object will be a context, and let's go back to the page, the post now. And so we see state is coming in here. So console.log state. So state has a post. State dot post. I think it's to post. State dot post. So we are mapping. So let's put in a key here. Key of post.id. And that's right. So it's not, so the post is coming along. So this is not returning it. So if you notice, this is not returning the GSX. That's why. So we just need to remove this. This can get confusing. So if you are going to do that, we need to have put a return, but we don't need to put a return here. So we have our post coming in here now. So that is Next.js for you. And when we go back to our dispatch, so the dispatch, yeah, so we only use the dispatch line. So since we are not using the dispatch, and I don't want this error of something is declared and is not being used, so we can just say this should be a context, and here we can then say context.state. Alright, so when we need to dispatch, we can just dispatch it from here and it gets updated. Alright, so we have our post in here. So let's go back to the home page. So we have our home page in here, and in this page, which is my home page, we need to be able to put a link. So definitely we don't want to do this, where you say /post and click here. We don't want to do something like this when you click it and it takes it to post, because if you notice, everything here in this network tab is going to reload. So our app is not supposed to work that way. So if you look at it, the first time you close, all this gets loaded, and when you click on it again, everything gets loaded again for the second time. So we do not want that. So we are not going to use link. We are not going to use the A tab. We're going to use link. Link is coming from Next.js, so we need to import it from Next. So let's go to the next document, and inside the next document, we need to search for. Let me just duplicate this. I don't want to lose it. How to use the link. So import link from Next/link. Import link from Next/link. And when you import the link, then this is the way to use this link and the ref tag. Alright, so in the ref tag, you just do /post, and that should work out of the box. So, but we are having issues here. Oh, sorry. So it should be link and link, and we should remove this. So if you come back in here, so you can see it's working, but something is giving us an error. File is simply via reference here. File name is already included file name. It's imported this package that we use this. So file is included via reference here.